Hi folks, quick overview of the Diamondback Firearms AM2 double stack 9mm pistol. And as a comparison, we'll be comparing it to a factory new Diamondback FS9, their first attempt at a double stack 9mm pistol. We'll go over the small features of each and then make some comparisons. Okay, so both of them now come factory in this plain white box. You get, for all of your money's worth, that case and paperwork. Okay, same here for the AM2. You get manual, soft case, and you don't get bullets, but I've got bullets in mine. Full cartridges anyway. Okay, sport the NRA junk, whatever. Pretty simple. They definitely could have made it cheaper for all that they don't give you. Okay. FS9, they ship you with one magazine. I got a second because I bought one. And the AM2, they send you with two. One flush 10, one extended 15. As a interesting side note, and I've tested it, the 15-round magazines are the same. They'll lock up in both. The difference is, here, the FS magazines I got were this black coated one. AM2 magazines I got were this in the white stainless. As you'll see, because the AM2 has a reversible magazine catch, it has two notches. The FS9 does not have a reversible magazine catch. Their magazines only have one notch. But if you're going to keep the magazine release on the left side for your right thumb, they'll swap pretty decently. And to demonstrate that, I did swap the base plates on two of them, as you'll see, just to test it. And I've been running them kind of for a while. That's why they look different. They don't match the guns that they came with. Anyway, okay, so DBFS9 had a crappy 11-pound trigger pull. It was supposed to be 6 or 7 pounds. When I got it, it was only 11 because, let me take it apart and show you. The sear here is a softer steel than the striker. So the striker worked a groove into the top of it. Over time, it'll continue to do that until the sear won't catch it anymore, and then it'll just run away. So I need to get that replaced from DB, see if they'll provide me with a hardened one. Okay, but so as it wore that channel, the little groove down in the sear, you can see how there's a ledge now. It created a burr, and that burr increases the trigger pull because it hangs onto the striker. It doesn't slide off easily. So that made it an 11-pound pull. I fixed it by filing the burr flat, and then it made me happy with the trigger after that. It was very smooth. It was very light, I guess, at 5 pounds. Felt like a single action trigger pull, almost, and I was happy with it for about 50 rounds, and then the burr came back. So now it's at 8 pounds. So it's really crappy design. I can definitely see, I understand now why some of these pistols had a reputation for running away when firing. They'll just go until they stop. So anyway, now we'll analyze the trigger on this one, or the reset, because that's an important design difference between the two of them, is how the length of pull and reset and all of that. So here we have striker reset, trigger all the way back. We're going to look at the reset on the DBFS9. There's our reset. Not very audible, but still just enough. And then you can see this is the full trigger travel. So we got about 1/8 of an inch difference from the reset and where trigger pull actually starts. 1/8 of an inch take up there. Okay, so starting back with it, and remember this is almost 9 pounds here. This is ridiculous. And there it breaks. There's about 1/16 of an inch there between the break and the over travel. So not very long. When it's light like it should be, it's actually pretty nice. It's not as short as I would like it to be, but it's not awful. This, however, in comparison, is fairly awful, I think. It's a full double action trigger. So as we see here, just a moment. Okay, so striker set, trigger all the way back, reset. There's our click. As you can see, it's quite a bit longer in terms of feel. I mean, it may not look like much on paper, but it feels dramatically longer than the FS9, longer than it should be. And then there's our full over travel, so about 1/8 of an inch between reset and where the trigger pull actually starts, and then the full trigger distance. All right, so as we work back, and it is, this one I measured at about 5.5, almost 6 pounds. My trigger pull scale doesn't measure in ounces, so it's between 5.5 and 6. But it feels pretty smooth. It's much lighter, but it is longer. And as you can see here, it breaks at this point, and then it's got another 1/8 of an inch of over travel, which I don't like. It feels very sloppy, especially having to come back all the way out to reset. So I'm not happy with the trigger. I suppose it does its job, but for that long of a reset, I'd rather have a SIG 250 or something, as an example. Okay, some details on this one. Again, as mentioned kind of briefly with the magazines, this is a magazine catch that is reversible. So you can switch sides if you like. Play for the other team, as it were. Another major difference is the actual grip style and texture. The FS9, they tried to make it as, I don't know, they were kind of going for an ergonomic deal there. You know, you've got a finger swell on the front, you've got a pretty decent palm swell on the back, you've got some palm swells on the side, it caves in there towards the butt to help your palm fit nicely on the grip. This one they went for a little bit more blocky and straight down, and actually gave you some finger grooves here. The aggressive texturing, as you can see on the pattern, broken by these sections of smooth plastic. It's pretty rough. It's not like tear your skin off, but I'd say it's right around an 80 grit. It's pretty decently rough. And the trouble I've run into, whether I'm running it right or left-handed, let's see if I can, right where my pinky runs there, you can see the, focus, the smooth spot, spaces in between the rough texture. It creates sharp edges, okay? You can almost see that there's a definite edge there. I've cut, well, I'm not bleeding, so I guess it doesn't count. But it does hurt my pinky. I can definitely feel it after only one magazine, okay, through this one. Whether I'm shooting right or left-handed, both of my pinkies are sore. So that wasn't very smart or nice. Okay, so let's take the slide off and look at the inside. Okay, so now I've got the slide off, looking on the inside, and the major difference between the FS9, which you can see you've got really long, all steel, or they're aluminum, I believe, front rails. They're really long. Everything is attached into the frame. The frame is what's serialized. Serial number there on the bottom. Okay. AM2, it has a inner frame subassembly, a fire control unit, as it were. I'm not sure if everything's connected when I pull it out. It looks like there's just the one pin there that's holding it in, but I haven't taken it out yet. And as you can see, there's 2 sets of metal rails, steel on this one, but they're very short. You can definitely feel a bit of wiggle, especially when you're putting the slide on or taking it off. It gets stuck, unless you just pull it right off as quick as you can. So that's interesting. You've got serial number and model number there. Serial, and they actually put their name under the slide catch there. All right. Ejector is very wiggly. I'm not sure if that's just mine or because I'm looking at it that it's wiggly and it doesn't wiggle when it's working. Anyway, you can see there by the striker, there is quite a bit of movement with it. They probably could have designed that trigger pull bar a little bit better. Yeah, quite a bit of movement there. Full double action effect. I will say that they do point fairly nicely. As we can look here, they both, from the web of the hand to the top of the trigger guard, it's fairly straight, where if you look at most other striker-fired pistols, the web of the hand will be quite a bit higher than the top of the trigger guard, so your hand ends up doing like a little bit of a dip. Usually something you only see on fire or hammer-fired guns, pistols, but it's a nice feature on here. It points pretty naturally for me. And as far as controllability goes, obviously they're fairly similar in weight. Strangely enough, they feel the AM2 actually feels heavier in my hand, even with the 10-round magazine, compared to the FS9. Just even though this one's got more barrel, more slide, because of this inner frame assembly here, it feels heavier in the hand. Okay, they both balance fairly well, but this one definitely feels heavier. Fairly easy to control, I guess. They're normal for a polymer framed striker fired pistol. I definitely like to hold on to this one because if you hold it loose in your hand, it'll chew you up. So that's something to keep in mind. I've run steel through this. I mean, there's a number of problems to go with this. I've had, even after I fixed some of the problems, for instance, the barrel, the chamber wasn't finished nicely. So there were helical rings in the chamber where after it got hot, cartridge cases would stay in the chamber and they wouldn't extract. Even after fixing that, I still suffer at least, on average, 1 failure per magazine. Unless it's like really hot brass casing with a light bullet weight, like 115 grains, and it's hot, then it'll function just fine. This one I've run, high speed, low speed, heavy weight, low weight. Even though they tell you not to go above 124 grain SAMI spec, it still runs pretty good with plus P 147 grain, which I have run. It runs just fine with toolless steel. And I put about 250 rounds through each, just as a reference point. So no issues with this one yet. Well, except I had in the first 2 magazines running steel, I did have to, the slide wouldn't go all the way home. I did have to give it a slight tap, or if I just gave it a little bit of forward momentum, it would seat in battery all the way. So, small issue, but pretty decent for the money, I suppose. I don't see why this one is currently over $360, where this one they're still trying to get rid of for $280, $290, whatever they're going for on Buds right now or anywhere else. I definitely don't think it's worth all that extra money. But it'll be interesting to see if they come with different grip frames. Okay, thanks.